published 0259 Est, the 8th of January. The 2018 updated 0527 Est, the 8th of January 2018. The sight of Joe Root lying stricken in the SCG dressing rooms the very moment Australia clinched one last emphatic victory was the perfect metaphor for an Ashes series where just about everything has gone wrong for England. From the moment Ben Stokes cast a giant cloud over the series by becoming embroiled in an incident outside a Bristol bar to off-field drinking controversies, a headbutt, allegations of unacceptable sledging and even suggestions of match-fixing and ball tampering, this Ashes had just about every scandal going. What it did not have was much hard-fought nor memorable cricket, as Australia's superiority in their own conditions proved every bit as decisive as those of us who feared the worst from the start imagined. England captain Joe Root takes on water as he struggles with a virus on the final day in Sydney. Root had to visit hospital on the final day in Sydney after suffering viral gastroenteritis. Australia captain Steve Smith shows off the urn as the team celebrate their 40 Ashes win on. It ended with the England captain initially in hospital, exhausted with a viral complaint that must have been connected to spending all but 6 overs of a fourth day where Sydney temperatures reached over 40 degrees on the field. Root returned to the SCG and resumed his innings in company with Johnny Bairstow once Moeen Ali completed his tour to forget by falling to Nathan Lyon for a 7th time, but he could not carry on after being taken ill again at lunch. If England are ever again going to compete against the best teams overseas, they will need their still fledgling captain to lead by the sort of example his opposite number Steve Smith provided in becoming the player of the series. So it can only be hoped Root's nightmare tour, that ended with him suffering the sort of illness that can be exacerbated by stress or being run down, does not cause permanent damage to such an important asset for England. The tour looked doomed ever since the Ben Stokes incident outside a Bristol bar. Smith takes a closer look at the Ashes urn in the home dressing room after the series victory. Smith kisses the urn on the outfield after sealing the 40 Ashes triumph with an innings win. Nathan Lyon appeals successfully for the wicket of Moeen Ali, the first of the final day. Pat Cummins celebrates the crucial breakthrough after lunch, dismissing Johnny Bairstow. LBW First Test Brisbane, Australia won by 10 wickets. Second Test Adelaide, Australia won by 120 runs. Third Test Perth, Australia won by an innings and 41 runs. Fourth Test Melbourne draw. Fifth Test Sydney, Australia won by an innings and 123 runs. Australia win the series 40 and regain the Ashes. Jimmy Anderson, the one England bowler who could be pleased with his performance in a series where Australia have outgunned and outspun them, took Root's place for a low-key presentation ceremony that was a reflection of an uninspiring series. Then he offered his young captain his full support. "I imagine it's been extremely difficult for him," said the man who became vice-captain when Stokes made himself unselectable for this tour. "Ask any captain who's toured Australia. It's not an easy place to come and play, especially when you're on the wrong end of the result. But the way HES carried himself has been a real credit to him, and HES been fantastic the whole way through. HE's a level-headed guy who hasn't looked down at any stage and has led the guys brilliantly, both on and off the field. He should be very proud of what HES done on this trip." That may be so, but when Root recovers from illness and that blow to his right index finger from Mitchell Starc on the fourth evening and takes his place in England's 50-over team, he will have to take stock of himself and his side. It is a concern Root is so insistent on carrying on playing 2020 cricket, presumably with the Indian Premier League in mind, when the management have considered the shortest form of the game as the ideal time to rest him. Root will be suffering from burnout as well as gastroenteritis if he carries on playing so much cricket, and he needs to put the bulk of his efforts into Test cricket if England are going to start planning for the next away Ashes now. Root must now summon the strength to play for England in the upcoming T20 series. Jimmy Anderson claimed England are improving, but it's difficult to agree with that verdict. England have now lost 18 and won just 15 tests under their coach Trevor Bayliss. It was difficult to agree with Anderson when he claimed on Monday that England's test cricket is on the up. "I think we have improved over the last 18 months and have definitely made strides in the right direction," he said. Fact is, with this 40 defeat, England have now lost 18 tests under Trevor Bayliss compared to 15 victories, and the heady days of the 2015 Ashes victory followed by a Test series triumph in South Africa now seem a distant memory. That is not to say the Australians' position as coach should be under threat now, but unquestionably Bayliss' methods, which centre on getting players to relax and take responsibility for themselves, have worked better in white ball cricket. The positivity that has been so important to England's limited overs renaissance has been a negative here in what Anderson described as an attritional series, because no batsman other than Alistair Cook has had the patience to replicate the extreme concentration and hunger for runs of Smith. It is also extraordinary that such a well-resourced England team have been without fast bowling and spin coaches for a large chunk of this Ashes because of the short-term deals of both Shane Bond and Sir Clan Mushtaq. The Melbourne Test aside, Alistair Cook struggled to find form on this Ashes tour. It has also been a chastening tour at times for the likes of Stuart Broad, and Johnny Bairstow Marine has struggled to find form with both bat and ball during this Ashes series. New fast bowling coach Chris Silverwood cannot start quickly enough, while Sir Clan needs to be tied down to a full-time deal rather than just working 100 days a year. Anderson caused raised eyebrows earlier in the Ashes when he criticised the coaches in his newspaper column for the poor bowling at the start of the Adelaide Test that made a mockery of Root's decision to bowl first. When asked about that on Monday, he said, "I felt we bowled too short in the first innings at Adelaide, but it's sometimes difficult when you're out there in the heat of it to know if you're bowling in the right areas, and that's where the backroom staff come in. You need feedback as the day goes on rather than a day later. It's no dig at the management. They make mistakes like we do on the field." The good news is Anderson has been, at 35, as good as ever here, and if both him and Stuart Broad keep performing well in home conditions over the next 18 months, England really will be firm favourites to win the Ashes back next year. England will hope Anderson continues in good form and fitness for next year's Ashes. Australia will enjoy their Ashes success for now, but England should start as favourites in 2019. Mason Crane should be nurtured as the type of player needed to win the next away series. It doesn't feel like a series where there should be a big upheaval, added the vice-captain. Other series have been absolutely disastrous, but this doesn't feel like that. We've actually played some good cricket, and every game has gone to the fifth day. We haven't been blown away in any game. We're hurting and we know we've got to improve in a lot of areas, but I'm sure everyone will be looking at themselves in the mirror in the next few weeks. When English cricket starts gazing in that mirror, it must recognise that the type of players needed to win the Ashes in Australia in 2021, like a promising leg spinner in Mason Crane, must be identified now and stuck with. But above all, English cricket needs to protect Joe Root. And he needs to protect himself.